It is 3 in the morning on a Tuesday. You are sitting alone in the living room of your 4-bedroom suburban home. The house is completely silent. The only light comes from the glow of your laptop screen illuminating your tired face. You refresh the page one more time. Your brokerage account balance stares back at you. $2 million. By every traditional metric of society, you have won the game of money. You are a multimillionaire. You are retired at 55 years old. You should be experiencing the ultimate freedom you worked 3 long decades to achieve. Instead, a cold sweat runs down your back. Your chest feels tight. You are terrified. You look out your expansive living room window toward the empty street. 3 doors down, there is a much smaller house. The man who lives there is 50 years old. He retired 5 years ago. The most money he's ever had to his name at one time is $500,000. Right now, he is fast asleep, completely undisturbed by the global markets opening in Europe or the closing bells in Asia. He has a fraction of your wealth, yet he possesses a level of absolute peace you cannot seem to buy. How does a man with 4 times less money than you end up infinitely more free? The answer is not in how much capital you own, it is in how much capital you are forced to burn. To understand how your dream became a beautiful prison, you have to go back 2 years. It was your first official day of retirement. You had just walked away from a highly stressful mid-level executive job. You felt an overwhelming sense of victory and relief. You had hit the magic number. $2 million was the finish line everyone always talked about. To celebrate your lifetime of hard work, you decided you deserved an upgrade. You sold your old comfortable home and bought this beautiful $800,000 house in a premium neighborhood. You leased 2 brand new luxury SUVs because you wanted to look the part of a successful early retiree. You joined the local country club to network with other wealthy individuals. You started eating at nicer restaurants and taking premium vacations. You felt rich, so you started acting rich. You did not realize it at the time, but you were quietly building your own cage, brick by brick. Every time you upgraded your lifestyle, you increased the minimum amount of money required just to keep your system from collapsing. You looked at your neighbor sometimes, the quiet guy with the $500,000. You saw him driving his 12-year-old sedan. You saw him mowing his own small lawn in the summer heat. You actually felt a twinge of pity for him. You wondered why he settled for such a mediocre, invisible existence when he could have worked just a few more years to get where you are. But you were measuring the wrong metric. You were measuring net worth. He was measuring practical freedom. There is a brutal mathematical reality about financial independence that no one warns you about until it is too late. It is called the lifestyle burn rate. In the financial world, there is a general guideline known as the 4% rule. It suggests that if you withdraw a conservative 4% of your total portfolio value in your first year of retirement, your money should outlast you. With a $2 million portfolio, your safe withdrawal limit was supposed to be exactly $80,000 a year. But let us look at the massive machine you built. Your property taxes on the new house are astronomical. The insurance on the luxury cars, the club dues, the endless home maintenance, and the elevated daily spending cost you money every single day. Your actual fixed expenses have quietly ballooned to $12,000 a month. That is $144,000 a year. You are burning through your wealth at a rate of over 7%. You are not living off the golden eggs. You are slaughtering the goose. Meanwhile, your neighbor built a completely different machine. His small house is paid off entirely. His old car costs almost nothing to register and insure. He cooks at home and finds deep joy in quiet, inexpensive routines. His total living expenses are exactly $2,000 a month. That is just $24,000 a year. With his $500,000 portfolio, he is comfortably pulling less than 5%. His financial system is small, light, and incredibly resilient. But you still did not see the danger. As long as the stock market was going up, your $2 million kept growing just enough to cover your massive monthly withdrawals. You thought you were invincible. You felt completely secure in your inflated lifestyle until everything changed. The market did not just correct, it broke. It started with a small dip in September, the kind everyone tells you to buy. But it did not bounce back. By October, the financial news was flooded with red banners. By December, the market had officially entered a bear cycle. Your portfolio dropped a staggering 20%. That beautiful $2 million number you worked your entire life for evaporated down to 6 million. In theory, this is just a paper loss. If you just leave the money alone, it will eventually recover. But that is the terrifying trap of a high burn rate. You cannot leave the money alone. The country club still expects their dues. The property tax bill on the $800,000 house just arrived in the mail. The leases on the luxury SUVs are automatically drafted on the first of every month. You need that $12,000 in cash right now. So you are forced to do the one thing every financial textbook tells you never to do. You log into your brokerage account and you hit sell. You are selling off your assets at the exact moment they are worth the least. This is known as the sequence of returns risk. It is the silent killer of early retirements. Every time you sell a share at the bottom of the market just to keep the lights on, you are permanently destroying its ability to compound and recover. You do the math on a yellow notepad. With your portfolio down to 16 million and your withdrawals still sitting at over 140,000 a year, your withdrawal rate has skyrocketed to nearly 9%. You are no longer financially independent. You are on a countdown timer to going broke. The panic sets in. The sleepless nights begin. You stare at the ceiling, wondering how you could have been so foolish. In your desperation, you start watching your neighbor even more closely. If you are hurting this badly with 1,006 million, he must be completely ruined. His 500,000 must have dropped to 400,000. You expect to see him pacing the driveway. You expect a moving truck to show up at his small house. But nothing happens. A month goes by, then two. The market keeps sliding, but his routine never changes. He still wakes up late. He still tends to his small garden. He still sits on his porch with a paperback book and a cheap cup of coffee, looking perfectly content. One afternoon, you finally walk over and strike up a conversation. You try to subtly bring up the economy. You mention how brutal the markets have been lately. He just shrugs and smiles. He tells you he has not checked his portfolio balance in 6 months. How is that even possible? Then the reality of his system hits you. His portfolio did drop to $400,000, but his living expenses are still only $24,000 a year. He does not need to sell off large chunks of his depressed assets to survive. His tiny lifestyle is entirely funded by the small dividend yields his portfolio generates, plus a modest cash buffer he built up for times exactly like this. The market crash is completely irrelevant to his daily life. His shield against economic disaster is not a massive pile of money. His shield is an incredibly low cost of living. Standing on his driveway looking at his 12-year-old car, your ego crumbles. You realize you are poorer than him. You have more digits in your bank account, but you have less runway, less security, and zero peace of mind. He bought true freedom. You just bought a very expensive set of handcuffs. You walk back to your massive quiet house. You look around at the granite countertops, the vaulted ceilings, the expensive leather furniture. You hate all of it. None of this is bringing you joy anymore. It is only bringing you stress. You are faced with a brutal ultimatum. You can either swallow your pride, put on a suit, and go beg for your old corporate job back at 57 years old just to fund this illusion of wealth. Or you can do something society will judge you heavily for. You can choose to step backwards. You can choose to look poor in order to actually be free. You choose the latter. The next morning, you make the hardest phone calls of your life. You call your real estate agent. You tell her to list the $800,000 house immediately. You call the dealership and pay the steep financial penalties to break the leases on both luxury SUVs. You resign from the country club. You start liquidating every single piece of the expensive life you spent the last 2 years building. It is a painful, humbling process. Your former coworkers and the people you used to play golf with hear the news. They whisper behind your back. They assume you went bankrupt. They think you lost everything in the market crash and are now a financial failure. They look at you with the exact same pity you used to look at your neighbor with. And you let them. You do not explain yourself. You do not disdain yourself. You do not defend your ego. You realize that their opinion of you is just a status tax, and you simply refuse to pay it anymore. You quietly pack your boxes and move into a modest, older 3-bedroom house on a quiet street. It looks exactly like the one your neighbor has. You buy a reliable 5-year-old used car with cash. By deliberately dismantling your image of wealth, you unlock hundreds of thousands of dollars in dead equity that was trapped in your oversized home. But more importantly, you completely destroy your monthly burn rate. Your fixed living expenses plummet from $12,000 a month down to just $3,000. Suddenly, the brutal mathematics of retirement flip entirely in your favor. Even with your portfolio still sitting at a depressed $1.6 million, your new annual withdrawal need is only $36,000. Your withdrawal rate drops to barely over 2%. You have built an absolute financial fortress. The stock market continues to swing wildly over the next year. The financial news gets even darker, filled with panic and doom. But you do not care. You never have to sell a single share out of desperation again. Your modest dividend yield completely covers your new, quiet life. You finally understand what your neighbor knew all along. The ultimate flex of wealth is not showing people you have money. It is the ability to become completely invisible to the economic machine. It has been 3 years since you made that transition. It is a Tuesday morning. The stock market is opening, and the news says it is going to be another highly volatile day. But you are not awake at 3 in the morning. You are not staring at your laptop in a cold sweat. You are sitting on the back porch of your small house, drinking a cheap cup of coffee, listening to the morning birds. You do not have $2 million anymore. You have a little less, but for the first time in your entire life, you actually feel wealthy, because true wealth is not the ability to buy anything you want. True wealth is the ability to wake up every single morning and know that you do not have to do anything you do not want to do. You no longer need to prove your success to anyone. You no longer need to out-earn your own lifestyle. You finally stepped off the treadmill. You look down the street. You see your neighbor watering his lawn. You raise your coffee mug. He smiles and waves back. You both know the quiet, undeniable secret. True financial freedom is never about the size of the number in your bank account. It is about the size of the gap between your ego and your expenses.